Thank you so very much, Madam Chairman and Ranking Member McGovern. There's so much to talk about in this bill, and I have several amendments, and I want to highlight two of them. But before I do that, I wanted to make some general comments on behalf of the residents of Texas 32 and the great state of Texas. You know, our deficit is at catastrophic levels. We've had multiple committee hearings in this building that suggest we're going to be facing some very impending financial crisis. Our federal credit rating was just reduced. And this bill and the Republicans in this building are voting to add $4 trillion to the deficit in the most irresponsible way possible, on the backs of hungry children, on the backs of young mothers and families and the poor in this country, to keep them from getting health care, on the backs of children and kids who want to get an education in cybersecurity, on the backs of safety of our aviation and our airports, on the backs of FEMA and states for disaster preparedness, on the backs of law enforcement officers who are being routinely terminated, on the backs of woeful areas across this government for lack of prudent and proper investment to the health and safety and the prosperity of this country. And we're being put in a dire financial strait so that the President of the United States can reward a few of his friends with extra money in their bank account that they don't need, that they can't spend. And the Republicans in this Congress have abdicated all the values that they have campaigned on for decades in homage to this one man. And it is a travesty to this government and to the American people that this is happening. Democrats have been protesting this viciously all through the day in the weeks preceding this to have the American people wake up and say, this is harming you. This bill will hurt the American people. I have an amendment for the Affordable Care Act tax credit. Millions of people get their health care in this country because of the Affordable Care Act. Texas is one of the leading states of it. Our state and our health care system is going to be devastated. And this is a bill that is supposed to give tax cuts. But yet we are removing one of the most critical tax cuts that the American people rely on. It makes absolutely no sense. How can we tout the greatest tax cut bill to the American people at the same time we are cutting one of the most important tax cuts that benefits the vast majority of the American people? And I really would like to urge this committee to restore the tax cuts of the Affordable Care Act. Millions and millions of people in the state of Texas and across this land desperately rely on that to get the desperate needs of healthcare. Small businesses, our new entrepreneurs, the young people who don't work for big corporations with vast amounts of employees to have diversity of risk. They rely on the Affordable Care Act. And health insurance is already one of the leading expenses of a family in this country, and it is prohibitively expensive. And this initiative, the Affordable Care Act, and these tax credits make it possible. The other amendment I would like to address for this committee is to restore funding to FEMA. I sit on the Homeland Security Committee. I've heard so much testimony about the urgent need and the critical role that FEMA plays as the backstop for states and American families when nature and the disaster strike out of the blue without ability to prepare. It's the safety net that is so critically relied on by so many. Our country will be at an peril on our national security, on our preparedness, if we don't have FEMA to come in and put the pieces back together. To just today, horrible tornadoes ripped through Alabama. I mean, no state is free from natural disaster, and Texas is certainly one of the states that has had to rely on FEMA the most. Hurricane Harvey decimated our Gulf Coast. Tornadoes decimate North Texas. We're the 6th largest economy in the world, the state of Texas. And without FEMA, we will be so burdened in putting our country back together that the federal government will also be harmed. I appreciate the consideration for this committee, and I strongly encourage you to adopt my amendments and make them in order. And with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.